You're listening to episode number 93 of the Transform Your Life from the Inside Out podcast. In this episode, the weekly episode, I actually talk about why you have to break your structures to transform your life. Keep listening. Hi, I'm Jim Fortin, and you're about to start transforming your life from the inside out with this podcast. I'm widely considered the leader in subconscious transformation, and I've coached super achievers all around the world for over 25 years. Here, you're going to find no rah-rah motivation and no hype, because this podcast is a combination of brain science, transformational psychology, and ancient wisdom all rolled into one to take your life to levels you've never thought possible. If you're wanting a lot more in life, to feel better, to heal, to have peace of mind, to feel powerful and alive, and to bring more abundance and prosperity into your life, then this podcast is for you, because you're going to start learning how to master your mind and evolve your consciousness. And when you do that, anything you want then becomes possible for you. I'm glad you're here. Okay, so in this episode, and by the way, for the past half year, I've been doing episodes on a weekly basis that correspond to a marketing calendar. My marketing team, video marketing team, we do a content calendar for a half a year. And this is the first episode where we finished our content calendar, and I can pick whatever I want for Wednesday. And I keep a lot of notes about, different things pop in my mind, things I want to talk about. And when I saw this title this week, I'm like, yep, that's exactly why I want to talk about it. Or that's what I do want to talk about. And the serendipity is, okay, let me back up here also, is if you've listened for any amount of time, you know that my brother-in-law is a shaman. If you don't know what that is, shamans they would be the Native American men, the medicine men in Native American tribes. They're healers, they're seers, and we're traveling right now, and he and I were talking last night in the living room. And what's interesting is that our conversation last night corresponds to what I wanted to talk about today, and I didn't recognize it till I, pulled out my notes for today and said, oh, this is what I'm going to talk about. So serendipity is obviously playing out. Actually, I call it the law of synchronicity. So he was telling me last night about, and this was between us watching the first part of the Super Bowl, and he was telling me about a person that he works with. And he's known this person for a lot of years, and he doesn't talk about other people. When people call for consultations or whatever, people that I refer, I don't know the content of the conversations. He just doesn't reveal any content. But we were talking about somebody that I've known for a long time, and I've observed in this person that they get very greedy, and they've done it as long as I've known them. And he was saying, and then for people that work with him, he helps us in any way that we ask, whether it be healing or manifestation of any sort, he always assists, and he quite literally always comes through when we do our part, and we come through and we fulfill our end of the bargain energetically. And he was talking about this person, saying that he was helping them, and they were starting to bring a lot of abundance into their life. And the first thing they were doing is they were latching greed onto it, and they're getting very greedy. And he says, you know what, I can assist them to bring abundance into their life, but if they're going to go back to their old ways, meaning they're not going to break their personal structures, then you know what, no matter how much greed that I bring to them, it's literally going to dry up, because they literally aren't approaching the abundance that I'm helping them create from a different way of being than the way that they've been for so many years, which is a way of greed. And the metaphor would be is that he's turned on a fire hydrant, and they have some significant things happening in their life that could make them a lot of money, and they can help a lot of people. But he said, I can turn the fire hose of abundance on, but if they go back into their greed, what they're going to do is they're going to turn the fire hose off, and it's going to actually slow down to a drip. Now, when I said that he doesn't talk about people, literally anytime he's telling me a story about somebody else, and it would be about people that I know, and it's never anything uber personal or any of that. He's just relaying stories. But I also know when he's talking to me and he's mentioning someone else, he's talking to me, and the metaphor is for me as well. Now, we all have things we're working on in life. I do. I have as many things in my life, excuse me, that I'm working on. I have as many as you do, but they're different things. Everyone's working on different things. Mine are not about, many things in this podcast. That's why I have this podcast. Mine are at levels of evolution in terms of apprenticing with the shaman for as many years as I have. And I just want to be even more transparent here. You might even hear in my voice it's a little strained. And I'm in Sedona, Arizona. I live in Dallas part of the year, and Sedona, part of the year, and I'm moving here full time. But in Dallas, we're at sea level. In Sedona, we're at about 4,500 feet above sea level. And I'm healthy, but recently I've been experiencing where it's been more taxing for me to breathe, and especially in Sedona. So this conversation he was having with me last night, and I'm just being an open book with you guys. What's happening in my own life is that I'm not, because he told me last night. I know this might not make any sense to you, but please just let me go. In this episode is essentially what's happening is I need to break some of my own structures, because he's told me before, and everyone that works with him, like I do intently, that when it's important for us to evolve energetically, and it's important for us to transform ourselves based upon energetic changes on the planet. If we don't make those changes, then we suffer physically, meaning we have physical ailments. And I've been having this ailment for about 2 or 3 weeks, harder for me to breathe, et cetera, et cetera. And being in great health, it makes no sense. And I know, because I've worked with him for 25 years, that something energetically is happening. So last night, when he was talking about this person, he's talking about not changing their structures and cutting off their supply. Well, it's perfect metaphor. Even though money's not my thing and it might be theirs, for me, I must also I have to change my structures, guys. I mean, I'm no different than any of you, whatever your structure might be. Maybe, which we'll talk more about, structures, but whatever your structures are that keep you trapped in, unhealthy marriages, or keep you trapped without money, or keep you trapped in some kind of health situation that's, not good for you. You're there because of your structures. So me doing this podcast, I'm literally, I didn't know why I picked this last week, and now today I'm like, okay, well, I'm looking into a mirror because I'm creating this, and I need to listen to everything that I'm saying to you guys also applies to me, because I've got to break my structures also so that I can grow and evolve. Okay, what are structures? Well, the definition of a structure is the arrangement of and relations between the parts or elements of something complex. Well, you and I are both very, very, and I don't even mean in terms of people will say, well, they're a complex person. Well, there are a lot of people that are complex people, but we're very complex beings. Working with a shaman for as many years as I have, there are so many things that I could say about my last comment, and it just, you don't have the context for it, meaning the past history that I do about our beings and non-ordinary realities and things that shamans deal with. But we are extraordinarily, extraordinarily, extraordinarily complex beings, and most of us function at very low levels. But when we look at life, from at least how you observe it, is life is a myriad of many complex things, like our subconscious identity and our thoughts and our beliefs and our habits. And then we look at what are our psychological habits, and then what are our, what's brain-based habits, what's conscious and what's unconscious. So we're very complex beings, and that's what, well, anyway, I just wanted to give you the definition of structure. But I see this over and over and over, and I'm going to do this for effect, and over and over and over and over and over and over and over, is that people want change in their lives. I mean, every one of you listening right now, the fact that you're listening means that you want some kind of change in your life. Otherwise, why would you even be listening? I mean, there's no reason unless you're getting something from the podcast that can help you go to a higher level in life. Everyone wants to go to a higher emotional, physical, mental state. It's just hardwired in us. But here's the reality, is that people want change, but people won't change themselves. Literally, people They want things, yeah, we want, and I'll give you some examples of that. We want all these things in our life. We want the health and the car and the home and the air quote financial security, which doesn't exist anyway. There's no such thing as security. It's an illusion. But we want all these things in our external world. But we sit here with our arms crossed and we say, you know what? I'm going to do like I Dream of Jeannie back in the 60s, a TV sitcom, and I'm going to just boink, my head, and here's all these things going to appear. But I'm not going to change myself. It just doesn't happen that way. To give you a great example here, is in my transformational programs, I find it humorous in a very compassionate way that when people, that they've gone through the program or they're going through it and they're like, wow, my life is changing. I mean, all these things are happening in my life. But the reality, and people marvel at that, like it's rocket science or something, like it's mysterious. But the reality is, which is why I created this podcast, when you change on the inside, everything on the outside automatically changes. And I don't know how long you've been listening to this podcast. I mean, we started it almost a year ago. Maybe you've been listening for a month, a year. People write in and say they listen to every episode and they're listening again. I don't know. But what I know is that you want change, but the change isn't going to come until you change. And what that means is changing your personal structure. So let me give you another example here. I see this all the time. I mean, we know our numbers, we know our metrics here at my company. But I've been a platform speaker for a lot of years and addressed I don't know how many millions of people over the years. And it's so interesting to see people in an audience and I offer them an opportunity to literally transform their life, to create, to evolve, to get things they want. And if I ask everyone in the audience and I said, how many of you want this? Well, if there's 1,000 people would say, yes, I want that. And the fact that they're in the audience tells me that yes, they want it. But the reality is this, and like I said, I know my numbers. 70% will say, I want it so badly. But you know what? I'm going to live by my circumstances because I don't have the money to invest. I'm going to live by my circumstances. And something that I want you to get right now is that your circumstances are also reflective of your personal structures. And unless, again, and I'm going to be repetitive in this episode, unless you, me, all of us, unless we change our personal structure, which is on the inside, then nothing is going to happen differently on the outside. Many of us, you might have heard me say before, we work backwards. We work from the environment trying to create change because we want change in our environment, which is our life and our bank account and our body and anything that we can physically experience in our life. I call it our environment. We want to change our environment, but what we don't look at is, hey, wait. What in me? How do I have to change? That being said, mark your calendar, March the 5th. I'm going to be doing a series, but let's keep it simple. March the 5th, I'm going to be doing a no-charge training, and it's the first module of what's called the Be, Do, Have series. It's live, it's me, and I will be live. If I'm not alive, I won't be doing the series, but on March the 5th, it's going to be live. It's not recorded, and there's no charge, and we start looking at who you have to be. What ways must you be in terms of characteristics and ways of being to to do what you need to do, to have what you want to have, which basically means to create what you want in life. So mark your calendar. We'll give you more details later. You can also click the link in the show notes over at jimfortin.com and get registered. Right now, I believe there are already several thousand people registered, and we're still a month away. But again, mark your calendar, March the 5th, and we'll dig even deeper to what we're talking about today. So, working with a shaman is a matter of personal evolution. Literally, the things that you guys are dealing with, most of you, this is why I do transformational programs, as I alluded to. I don't deal with those things anymore. Even though I'm going to get some hate mail and I'm going to get some people saying, yes, you do, and be blah, blah, and all this crap back. Like, for example, I once said in a podcast, I don't care what people think about me. And I think somewhere, I don't read them. And for those of you that are kind enough to submit, I appreciate it. But somebody said, yes, you do care about what people think about you, because if you didn't care, then you wouldn't say it. And I'm like, Okay, whatever. But the reality is a lot of things that you guys are dealing with, I've dealt with over the years. So I get it. But I have to deal with my own things when it comes to evolution. And I was just transparent earlier. I'm dealing with some things physically that I know are energetically, and I know it because I monitor my internal mental states. And I notice that when my internal mental states get to the place where they need to, air quote, be, then things in my body change literally almost instantaneously. And I mean that also because many of you know that, mind body healing, but I mean this literally at a very, very subtle level. And I also mean it in a way which I'll share with you in a minute. I mean it in a way to become aware of structures that I'm not even aware that I have because they're unconscious. And I'll touch on that in just a minute. Being completely transparent with you, I have my life organized in a way that I have a really, really good life. My environment, my external life, I mean, everything, I am in good health. I have financial abundance. I have a beautiful family. I've literally, I don't, percentage wise, I don't know, but I probably fall in the top 1% of just even life. I mean, I have so many blessings. And being transparent with you, there are things that I have to change in my life. And I'm still actually doing a little fishing and a little, self-discovery and using my unconscious mind and asking for answers and guidance. But you know what? As sure as I'm talking to you right now, if you want different things in your life, you have to change. And for me to evolve and grow, because it's not so much that I want different things, because I pretty much have anything that I personally want or money could buy. So that's not something that I'm working on. But I'm working on personal transformation at a level of consciousness. And for me to have that, guess what? I got to change. And just being 100% transparent, there's a part of my personality that's going kicking and screaming, going, no, no, no. Well, I don't want to change. I like the way that I have it organized, and I like this, and I like that. Well, guess what? I can like that, from my ego self all day long, but it doesn't create any higher level of well-being for me. So when I tell you that I get that some of you are listening and you're like, but Jim, I like my life the way that it is. But you know what, Jim? I want more. But I like the way that my life is, but I want more. I'm telling you right now, I get it. So I guess the question for you right now is, I don't even know if you've thought about it in that way, is how much structure do you have in your life, but not in your external life? For example, you could be a very unstructured person in your physical life, and that's a matter of what we call in neurolinguistic meta programs, meaning people look at you and go, you're the most disorganized person in the world. Well, guess what? Even being disorganized is a structure which leads to disorganization. So what I'm looking at is more than anything, is if I sat here and I answered, okay, Jim, where do you need to change? Where do you need to bust your structures? Well, I could probably analytically say, well, A, B, and C, and D, and E. But the reality is what needs to change is structures that I don't even know that I have. Because many of you go through life, and well, we all do, not many, almost most of you. You go through life and you live by structure, not even know, even if you're an unstructured person, which is structured, but it just appears to be unstructured. Hopefully that makes sense. But you have all this structure about what the world is and what it's not, and even structure about money. And like I think I alluded to it, I don't know if I finished my story earlier, about I offer all these people this opportunity to transform their life. But a lot of people won't take me up on the opportunity because their structure is, oh no, I can't do that because I don't have enough time, I don't have enough energy, I don't have enough money. But I don't like where I am in life. But the way I have my life structured, I can't do something differently because I don't have the time, energy, and money, which is structure, which keeps me trapped. Off topic. Where was it? Oh, on one of my Facebook groups, somebody yesterday or a couple of days ago said that they wanted something that I had in writing, and they said sometimes the podcast goes off on a tangent. Well, what I do know is that they do go off on tangents sometimes, but I also know that I always bring back the transformational takeaway to the topic of the week. But the reason they go off on tangents is not because I was thinking unstructured, is not because I'm unstructured entirely. It's because I want to bring so much depth and breadth of information to you guys so that you can get your minds around this so that you can transform your life. So that's why it's not just, the podcasts aren't step one, step two, step three, step four. Okay, bye bye. See you got. That's why it's not that way, because they're not scripted. And when I'm talking to you guys, and I'm talking to you listening right now about structure, when I'm talking to you guys, all this flood of information just comes into my mind, and I just kind of follow it as we go. So hopefully, you know what? There's an old phrase in Texas: chew the meat, spit out the bone. Okay, back to structure here. And you might be wondering, okay, Jim, you even said about yourself, there are things that you need to change and you don't want to change. And I'm looking at myself, meaning you listening, and there are things that you need to change but you don't want to. How come? Well, one of the reasons it's brain based, and I highly encourage you to go back. It's one of the earlier episodes, one of the first five, I believe, and it's on habits. And our habits come from the reptilian part of the brain, and the reptilian part of the brain works from any habit that you have is needed for survival. So that's one of the reasons it's so hard for us to change our structure is that it's brain based. It's reptilian brain. It's below your level of consciousness. So we don't want to change because we don't know what's going to happen if we change. Therefore, it's safe for us to stay where we are. Okay, transparency alert again. I'm looking at myself as I'm sharing this with you, and working with a shaman for a lot of years. I mean, 25 years now. It's all like I think it's 25 years this year. Is I've always found him to be accurate. Shamans, a real shaman, can literally read your energy, see your. I mean, I don't mean like, oh, let me pull a tarot card. No, not like that. I mean, he can literally see into your body and tell when you're sick, what's going on, etc. And he's always 100% of the time led me in the right direction for healing or whatever. And many of us don't change. Like right now, he's talking to me about personal structures that I have to break in myself. And it's nothing more than thought, which thought is energy. You might have heard me say in one of the episodes that every thought leads to a feeling, feeling leads to vibration, vibration leads to frequency, and we track through frequency. What I want to point out is that I am very, very motivated to change my structures, but I don't know what they are yet. And I haven't asked him entirely because I want to work on this myself a little bit, even though I'm spending time with him. And I could ask him, but I'm not going to. Because literally, as I'm sharing with you, and if I were your good friend sitting across from you going, get your stuff together, you got to create some change. I had that same conversation coming at me last night. And the reason why that's coming to me is so that the more that I grow and evolve, I already know why it's coming. The more that I grow and evolve in terms of my level of consciousness and my ability to bring information in and see at higher levels of awareness, the reason that's happening is that's why I'm on the planet, so that I can help you more. Now, the reason I started this thought, if somebody said, you've got to change your structures, Jim, so that you can attract more money. No, I don't. I make millions of dollars per year. I attract millions of dollars. I make and I attract millions per year. No, I don't. Money flows into my life like water. So there's no pain associated. But one of the things that I'm going through right now is that because I need to change some structures is that I'm winded. Like I have compassion for people that have emphysema and all that kind of stuff. And by the way, please stay out of your energy and your mind about, oh, Jim, you got this. No, I've seen this stuff for a lot of years. I've seen things come in and things go, and as soon as it comes in, it goes pretty quickly also because I have to shift. But here's what I want to share with you. A lot of us don't want to change until we are in a lot of pain. And then once we're in pain, we're like, well, this sucks. Okay, I have to change. Well, I'm in pain physically with this ailment that I'm going through. And will it pass? Yes. And how I know it's going to pass? Because I'm going to use my intent and my will to make it pass. However, as I'm going through it, whew, I can't say I'm feeling physically like the happiest camper in the world. So my whole point here also is that many of us don't change until we have enough pain. So look at the pain points in your life. Seriously, right now, look at the place in your life where you have pain, and then look at what are my structures mentally that keep me there. Because you're going to continue to have pain as long as you have the structures which keep the pain in place. So I'm just going to just share with you, there's no way around this. There is zero way around what I'm about to say, and it's pretty simple. You've heard it before, but hopefully now when you hear it, it makes like crystal clear sense to you, is that if nothing changes, nothing changes. So if you don't change your structures, how can you expect your external world to change? So I say that also because what a lot of people get into, and guess what? I've been there as well. Which I'm not there at this point in my life, but what a lot of people get into is self-deception. And they have this illusion that, you know what, if I don't change, somehow, miraculously, my external life around me is going to change. Somebody's going to wave a magic wand, Harry Potter's little magic wand, and go shazam, and I got a brand new car, or a job, or a house. Or it just doesn't happen that way. Because what I tell people, and it applies to me as well, is that life doesn't test you, life reflects you. And whatever you have in your life is a reflection of your structures. And if you don't have something that you want, you don't have the structure of thinking and being to get what you want. Okay, now a question that I ask myself, and this has been a very powerful question over the years. I'm going to give you the question, then I'm going to give you a variation of it. I've said in other episodes where there's no such thing as being stuck in life. You're not stuck. Nobody is stuck in life. You simply are at a level of, you're out of interpretations, because we're not at the mercy of our circumstances. We're at the mercy of our interpretations. So something that I've used for a lot of years when I'm looking for answers, when I would be what you would call, air quotes, stuck, is I would say to myself, subconscious mind, I'd ask my subconscious mind the question, and by the way, there's an episode on that. I think it's the fifth one that I did or something, or somewhere, one of the first episodes. But I literally would say to myself, what is it that I'm not seeing that I need to be seeing? What is it that I'm not seeing that I need to be seeing? So as it pertains to structures, you could sit there and say, well, Jim, okay, yes, it all makes sense and I get it, but what do I need to change? And this is where higher levels of self-awareness come in. And I would ask myself the question, what structures do I need to change that I don't even see that I need to change? And then, and there's an episode also on Dreamtime here. I don't know the episode number. And I know that sounds kind of like, well, Jim, you should know. It's your podcast. But I know that it's like episode number 15 or so when I created the podcast. So whatever 93 minus 15 is, like 78 or something like that, I don't know, is episode number 78 or thereabouts, is the episode on dreaming, where I talk about this, tossing things to your unconscious mind. And I can assure you that I'm working on this because it brings some discomfort to me. And why would I choose, like you might choose to sit in discomfort of not having money, or discomfort of a poor relationship, or discomfort of health? I'm like, why would I choose to be in discomfort when I have everything inside of me that I need to actually solve this, to move to a higher state of well-being? And the same thing with you. So ask yourself and become more self-aware. I'm not doing a mastermind this year, but I was doing one last year. And there's a woman that I love her, I adore her, a wonderful woman. She lives in Europe. And she'd already been in my programs for about a year and a half at a higher level. And she said, you know what? I never realized, which was structure for her, I never realized how much self-pity I got into. Now, doesn't apply to me, but it applies to her. And she finally had that awareness that, oh my gosh, I hold myself so back. I hold my life so far back because I have the structure of self-pity. So if you don't have what you want in life, it's because you're misstructured, or you have the incorrect structures of thinking and way of being, and especially your way of thinking. The structure, because all of your thinking is a structure, even if it's unstructured. So you want to look at, what structures must I work from in my way of thinking and being to create the outcomes that I want? Also want to just remind you, mark your calendar, March the 5th. No charts. We're going to start the Be to Have series. So make sure that you click the show notes over at jimfortin.com and get registered for that series. And you know what's interesting here also is that, and it's just internet marketing, but it's the amount of people that, and we have actually a very high show up rate. And there's a myriad of reasons for that. I'm not going to go into it here. But it's interesting how many people will register for something and then never show up. So if that's you and you're listening to me now, and this series sounds like, because we're going to dig deeper into what we're talking about here, but you know what? If that's you and you register and you don't show up, then what structures are you working for, and how does that play out in a bigger picture in your life? Okay, so the transformational takeaway this week is, I've said several things, and hopefully you got several takeaways from this, But the reality this week and the takeaway is that if you truly want transformation, if you truly want transformation in your life, you have to break your structures, and your structures are a matter of habit and subconscious identity. So please, they're in the first 10 episodes. Go back and listen to the episode on habits and subconscious identity and subconscious reprogramming. That is the only way, because anything else is self-deception. That is the only way that you're going to transform your life, is to transform your unconscious structures and your brain-based habits. Okay, next episode on Monday. James wrote in, is his name, and there's a lot of things that I can do with this episode, but I picked it because it has a lot of punch to it. And with what I can do with this episode, it'll help a lot of you guys, because it's not just about the topic of his episode. But James said, how do you handle being, because I talked about this in episode number 68 about one of my friends. How do you handle being, meaning how do you handle being in a how do you handle being in a sexless relationship? Now, what I know about a lot of you, and these are things that people don't talk about, is that many of you are in sexless relationships. Doesn't matter gender, any of that. It's just a very, very prevalent thing that a lot of people don't talk about. So I'm going to talk about that on the next episode. So thank you for listening. And by the way, if you would please, we're rounding out, or about to finish our first year having a podcast. I think we started in late March of 2019. And we're approaching 1 million downloads, and we definitely want to make sure we hit that goal. If you find value, which otherwise why would you be here? If you find value in these podcasts and you find some transformation and life lessons, please, if you would, share the podcast with your friends and family and coworkers, and let's actually help them create a little transformation in their life as well. Okay, thanks for listening, and do what you can to make it a great day today. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to this entire podcast. If you're the kind of person who likes to help others, then share this with your friends and family. If you found value, they will too. So please share via your social media channels. Also, if you have questions, I'm here to assist. You can email me questions to support@jimfortin.com, and I may even use your question for a future podcast episode. Also, if you want transformational content like this daily, connect with me on Instagram. My Instagram name is I am Jim Fortin. Finally, I do have a personal request. I believe that we're all here to help others and to grow and evolve ourselves. Together, you and I, let's help more people. If you would please, leave a review on iTunes, and a good one, by the way. I'd be grateful, and through your assistance together, we can transform more lives. Thanks for listening.